Hey everyone, welcome to session 5. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Before we get started, I need to be the lead learner with you. I've been in a state of paralysis for it seems like a few weeks, but between finishing my master's, wrapping up this initiative, applying for my ICF PCC certification, I've been procrastinating and dragging my feet and feeling massive fatigue. And I really had to sit with myself and ask why. I realized I was facing a dual fear, a fear of failure and a fear of success. I've grown more in these last 2 years than in the last 45 before them. And that growth has been amazing, but it's also been painful. Last week, I had a review session with coaching professionals who seem to have decades more experience than me. And sitting there having my coaching calls picked apart at this PCC level, it was incredibly humbling. And truthfully, the imposter syndrome didn't just kick in, it took over. I started asking myself, am I qualified for this? Is this worth the money? Should I be doing this? I mean, is this even necessary? And truthfully, I've been avoiding my coach for over 10 days now because I've just been too nervous to submit another call for feedback. And have been stuck in that fixed mindset, fearing the shame and not being perfect. And being able to reflect and label that has really helped me figure out how I can pull through this. And honestly, maybe this is why I've been procrastinating preparing for this presentation. So I've been avoiding the struggle. It's hard to talk the talk and not walk the walk. But then I reflected on what Dr. Carol Dweck said about the growth mindset, saying, seeing challenges as opportunities for growth. And I told myself, I already know what I need to improve on. The friction I'm feeling isn't a sad that I'm a bad coach or I'm not adequate. It's the physical proof that I'm reaching for a higher level. I know I can do better. I can be more. So I decided to stop avoiding. I'm embracing the mess and I will submit that new call. That shift has really taken me out of the shame and put me back into the growth mindset. So when I tell you today that the struggle is the signal, I'm not just saying that as an expert. I'm saying it as someone who is currently untangling her own mess right alongside you. And today we're going to look at why that mess is actually a biological requirement for your next level. So we often hear that the brain is like a muscle, but this analogy, it can be a trap. Think about it. When you go to the gym and you feel the burn in your muscles, you know you're getting stronger and that feels like a win. But mental growth doesn't feel like a pump. It feels like what I just described: confusion, frustration, a headache, overwhelm. When my coaching calls were being picked apart at that PCC level, I didn't feel strong. I felt like I was getting worse. And this is the danger zone because it feels bad. We often mistake the struggle for lack of progress. We think, if I were good at this, it wouldn't be hard, right? Going back to being the natural. But the science tells us the opposite. That tangled knot in your head, that friction, is the only way to reach the next level. If there's no friction, there's no growth. Let me say that again. If there's no friction, there's no growth. Think about that. So as we move through this, I want us to stop seeing it as not qualified and see it more as, I know what I need to do. All right. And this not feeling qualified, it's not a stop sign for me. It's actually the green light that says that you're currently in the middle of a wiring update, a version update. Okay. So I'm in the middle of neuroplasticity, which we're going to talk about. So what is actually happening inside this tangled knot I described? It is neuroplasticity. When I felt that paralysis and fatigue during this process of the ICF application and the finishing these projects in my degree, I wasn't being lazy. It was my brain signaling for an update. Think of struggle as a biological order you've placed on a new skill. The most important part of the science is the growth doesn't happen while you're struggling. It's triggered by the effort, but it's anchored later during rest and sleep. So this is why I felt so tired. My brain was doing all of the heavy lifting and construction. And knowing this helped me be more patient and realize that my frustration wasn't a sign I was failing. It was the confirmation that the wiring was actually happening and that the rest was important. So, in our previous session, session 4, we had mentors write letters to their previous self or to a new mentor, giving them advice on how to handle the tough days. And when I was stuck in this ICF procrastination, I realized I wasn't following my own advice. I was ignoring the data that had proved that I can handle this because I know I can do hard things. I've done them before. Look at that letter I wrote to myself. Even through this, I avoided my coach because I was chasing that perfect coaching call because I didn't want to send one that wasn't perfect to get that kind of feedback again. But my reset happened when I listened to Carol Dweck and realized that the friction wasn't a sign I was a bad coach. It was the proof I was reaching for a higher level. I recognized I can do better. I can do more. I know where to focus on and grow. So I can reach that higher level. So I'm like, okay. So that reset was simple. I already know what I need to do to improve. So let's just practice and submit the call. And that reset, it shifted me out of a fixed mindset and going back into that growth mindset. So I really encourage you to take a moment and pause and think, what is one phrase I can provide myself that gives me permission to be imperfectly in progress? So let me say that again. What's one short phrase you can give yourself permission to be imperfectly in progress? I asked myself, and I had to really think about that. And, so my phrase that I've put together, the anchor that I've created to help keep me from drifting back into that avoidance when things get hard and I feel like I'm going to be nervous and I'm not valuable and all the things, right? Here's my phrase. My phrase is, I don't need to feel qualified to be improving. I don't need to feel qualified to be improving. So I put this on a reminder card. I wrote it out and I put it on my bulletin board. And it just says, I don't need to feel qualified to be improving. So this reminder card, it's Stop the Shame. And it reminds me that the messy coaching call, that's where the learning lives. And we are looking for perfect sessions. We're looking for growth sessions. In this reminder card, this tool, it gives you and eventually your mentors and your students permission to be imperfect while still moving towards the goal. So I encourage you to take a moment and think about what you're going to make and create as your reminder card. What phrase, what anchor are you going to create to help yourself, to prevent yourself from drifting back to that fixed mindset? So mine is, I don't need to feel qualified to be improving. So let's talk about the ripple effect of this. So whether you're leading a team, mentor, that virtual or vertical buddy team, someone in your family, talking to a student, your most powerful tool isn't your expertise. It's you being authentic, right? So when you voice the struggle and admit to your own fatigue and procrastination, you're not just showing mistakes or weaknesses. You're building a permission structure. You're showing others that feeling bad at something is just the biological precursor to being good at it. When you model this, you give everyone around you the safety to be human, And you move from the culture of hiding the mess to using the mess as a tool for growth. Going back to my ICF credentialing, hiding from my coach because I was fearful of shame and feedback. Now I see that as an opportunity for growth and learning. It's very powerful. So, whether we're at the end of any journey, right, when we've worked really hard through something, a degree, certification, this adaptation initiative, there's always a point of highest friction where you're like, oh my gosh, what? You felt a sense of fatigue maybe over the past few weeks doing this and preparing for this. So please hear me. That's a sign. That's a sign that you're close to the finish line, not a sign that you should stop. Really appreciate each of you letting me be honest about my own truth time moments and letting me move forward alongside of you. And I want you to remember one thing. Your heart racing is just your leadership energy. It's the physical fuel you need to step into the challenge. You have the science of the brain. You have data from your past successes. You have your reminder card to keep you centered. Now let's go out there and celebrate the struggle. You have to know that the work, it feels hard because it's working. So thank you so much for working and watching this with me. And if this resonated with you, or if you've thought of what you're going to put as your reminder card, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. And let's finish this strong. Thank you so much.